This episode was recorded the week before Thanksgiving. Now let's tune in to Big Muddy Mayhem. So, how are you doing today?
Janet, I'm doing all right. We are right upon the cusp of Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh, right?
So, all of the last minute things, and then also, of course, getting ready to get into the holiday season.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. Ryder will not let me bring my Christmas decorations up until after Thanksgiving, but they are all like gathered in boxes at the foot of the stairs. And the minute that the bell strikes 12, I'm going to be ready.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I have it together mostly. I mean, I've gotten all of my groceries.
Mm-hmm.
I need to start a pie or 3, but you know, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I normally go over to my parents on Thanksgiving, but I always have friends Thanksgiving the day after.
So what is your very favorite Thanksgiving dish? If you could only have one.
Probably stuffing.
Yeah?
I really like stuffing.
Stuffing is good.
And I like, you know, I mean, stovetop's fine, but I don't make stovetop. I like real stuffing. You know, the Pepperidge Farm in a bag where you add all the things. That's the kind of stuffing I like. What's your favorite?
Mine is probably sweet potatoes, but I don't like them extra sweet.
Oh.
I like them like with maybe a little bit of chili oil or like some pepper, you know, like I like them a little sweet and spicy. But yeah, sweet potatoes, man, I could eat them any day of the week.
Awesome.
Well, we hope that everybody, all of our Muddy Buddies are having or have had a really lovely Thanksgiving, depending on when you listen.
Absolutely.
And I guess, are we ready
I think we're
ready?
I think we're ready to get muddy.
All right.
So I am going a little bit different direction. This is still, this is not actually, there's things about it. It could be true, but we're not really sure. This is actually one of our first call-ins.
Ooh, all right.
So, someone suggested this story to me, and I had to take it because I used to live there.
Mm.
It takes place in Missouri, in Cape Girardeau. So we have a couple of friends that also used to live in Cape Girardeau. I definitely have a few friends who used to live in Cape Girardeau.
Okay.
It's south of St. Louis. It's about 2 hours south. It's right along the Mississippi River, if nobody knows that. It's SEMO, Southeast Missouri State. That is the college that is there.
Okay.
I went to school twice there. I did not graduate from there. I ended up graduating from a different college. But, I lived there for about 1.5 years. And I had no idea about this. Did you know in 1941, 6 years before the Roswell thing, there was supposedly a UFO crash in Cape Girardeau?
Oh, my.
I had no idea.
Right here in Missouri.
Exactly. So per the UF Center, it's www.ufcenter.com. It's based in Seattle. It's a UFO reporting center. Since the early 1950s, there has been 2,803 UFO sightings reported in the state of Missouri alone. Now, you have to understand, only 5% of UFO sightings are ever reported. So that number is way higher than that.
Right.
You know, it could be Skylink. Who knows? You know, you see UFO. Don't know what it is. Unidentified flying object. That's what UFO means. So Roswell, that happened in 1947, I believe. So 6 years prior to that, this happened, supposedly. The information was gathered from a man by the name of Leonard Stringfield. He was an early UFO investigator and a former civilian consultant to UFO operations at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
So in the 1950s, he would go and check these things out. And he ended up in 1991 publishing, he published actually many of these, and they are basically, they're called the status report, and he talks about all of the things that he has seen.
All right. Okay.
I actually tried to go find a copy of the book on Amazon and eBay, and it's quite pricey, so I did not get it. But this is where the story came from. So when this got reported in 1991, it was about the crash in 1941. The article appeared in the July 1991 status report. It's a monthly publication on UFO activities and investigations. The article is based on info from a Charlotte Mann. She was a young child living in Cape Girardeau in 1941.
Oh, wow. Okay, so ends up being cited?
She's the one that passes this information along to the writer. Okay. So what happened is that Charlotte's grandfather, Reverend William Huffman, he was a pastor at the Red Star Baptist Church in Cape Girardeau.
Okay.
Her grandfather received a call from in the spring of 1941 from the local police asking to travel with them to the site of a plane crash.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, they go pick him up, and when they arrive, he notices there's police officers, there's firefighters, there's FBI agents, there's emergency medical crew, and military personnel.
So, Janet, up until this time, is he thinking it's just going to be for some kind of, last rites or something like that? And
exactly.
then you show up and...
Right,
everybody and...
That's why they're taking him along. They're like, no, you need to come with us. And so when he shows up, all of these different groups... Now, I think there's a military base, nearby, and maybe even Poplar Bluff or something. So when he shows up, they're all standing there, and they're all looking in one direction. They are all viewing a disc-shaped object that's broken in half. Because it's broken in half, they can see the inside of it.
Oh.
And it contained a small metal chair. It had gauges, dials, and hieroglyphic-like inscriptions and writing on the inside.
This is almost a little too on point.
I know.
Come on, this isn't even on the nose. This is up the nose.
But I had to do it. It's Cape Girardeau.
But
so anyway, he sees 3 non-human deceased people lying on the ground.
All right.
There's 2 just outside the craft and 1 just a little further away. He described their bodies as hairless, with large heads, big eyes, small mouths, very small ears, 4 foot tall with no bone structure that he can tell, and very long arms and fingers.
Sure.
So he was asked to pray over them because they're deceased. He was then escorted by the military officials to a nearby location where he was sworn to secrecy and warned to never tell anyone what he saw. The men in black are there.
pause. So they really literally just brought him in to pray over aliens?
Yes. I know it's...
I have questions.
I have questions too.
But I'm not going to let that get in the way of a good story, so please go on.
And so, of course, they say, this didn't happen. You didn't see this.
You never prayed over these aliens.
This is national security, and this is never to be talked about again. He eventually, however, told his wife and his granddaughter and the brother of the Cape Girardeau County Sheriff Clarence Shade, who partially confirmed the story.
And the guy at the Dairy Queen that gave him the free Whopper Sunday for... Come on.
More info was told by Charlotte more info was told to Charlotte by the grandmother. She said that, okay, her father apparently, not the grandfather, not the reverend who went there, but apparently his son, her dad, eventually had a picture of this at a dinner party. He said her father had a picture of two men holding up a non-human little person, 4 foot. They were being held up by their armpits with their arms stretched out.
Okay.
But of course, no one can find this picture. So I have a quote from Charlotte. This is one of the best reasons why I had to do this story, other than Cape Girardeau.
Come tell us, Charlotte.
Well, the first awareness I had of it is actually a picture that my father had, and it was at a dinner party. And I had heard rumors and bits and pieces over conversation, but it was a picture, as an old picture, because it was like the old Kodaks with the little lines and the scallops around it.
Okay.
There were two men holding up a non-human, is the best way I can describe it. Little entity, a little person, who appeared to be 4 feet tall. They had him underneath the armpits with arms outstretched on either side of him.
That's a lot.
So, I did try to look up like I said, I tried to look this up on the status report because it's just basically a book now.
But nobody has this picture.
Nobody has this picture. And I was kind of reading around some other information, and somebody was very confused on why a Baptist minister would be giving last rites to someone, because normally that's something that's done by a Catholic priest. So that is pretty much the story, which is short,
of
the UFO crash in Cape Girardeau.
Fantastic.
There are things out there. We know that. But the government
Do you believe so? Like, do you really do?
Actually, my Uncle Larry, he passed away a couple of years ago. He lived in California, and he would see the cigar-shaped ships. I mean, cigar-shaped things in the sky. And that is reported a lot. But,
see, I'm always curious, because I think that you and I, and I, like... against a lot of the people that I know. Like, you, I think, are maybe a little bit more of a believer for
a little
things.
bit.
I am, like, the biggest skeptic. And, but Ryder, also, who is, like, the most logical person I know is also, like, a big believer in stuff like that. So, maybe it's just, like... I mean, I'm clueless. I don't see the sidewalk, so so I could see easily how I could miss something.
Right, but it's just it's interesting, and I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yeah,
like in this little town that I lived in.
You also mentioned Skylink.
Yes,
we went floating this summer. And we were out in the middle of the woods and saw, like, Skylink go by. And it was kind of one of those middle of the night, like, you're all sitting around the campfire. everybody is like a little bit into their, cups or whatever, and and somebody's like, "Whoa, what is that?" And I didn't even know what Skylink was. So all of a sudden, I'm like seeing a whole chain of lights.
Oh yeah, it's a chain. It is crazy.
I was like, "Whoa, what is this even?" And there were no other lights in the sky because it was a dark, clear night without a whole lot out there. And oh wow, yeah.
But that's my story.
Well,
that's
you.
The crazy story I have this week. I decided to pick a little bit of a light story since we're on the cusp of Thanksgiving.
Yes. Look, we know all of our Muddy Buddies, for all of you that are going to be out dealing with your families and all of the stresses of the holidays, whether you're hosting, whether you have to go and make nice with folks that it isn't easy to make nice to,
right,
man. We see you, we love you, we hear you. We hope that you can listen to this podcast and have a little bit of a little bit of joy in your weekend.
Absolutely.
It's okay to pretend that you have to poop and lock yourself in the bathroom for 20 minutes. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we wish you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving and hope that that all of this goes as well as can be expected.
So I'm excited to hear about your story.
I do have a story. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So, I am taking us down south.
Oh, okay.
For Thanksgiving a little bit. We are going to take our first big muddy adventure down into the state of Tennessee.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm going to tell you about the story of David Stringbean Akeman.
Okay.
So, this story, it ends in Tennessee. Well, it's focused on Tennessee, but it begins in Annville, Kentucky.
Okay.
In 1915, David Stringbean Akeman is born. He is born to a family of musicians.
Ooh.
He is no different. His father is musical. His whole family is musical. It's 1915 when he's born, so you're growing up during the Depression.
Right.
Making music as a family is one of the few things that you can do kind of for enjoyment. And David Akeman becomes a pretty proficient musician.
Oh, okay.
Because his family is musical.
What does he play?
He plays banjo.
Oh, that's a hard instrument to play.
He plays banjo, and so he ends up getting his first actual on his own myself a banjo.
Oh, wow.
When he's 12, he trades 2 of his prize chickens for it. He plays out locally. He wins a talent contest, and starts playing out in local bands and stuff. He wins this talent contest, and the band leader, when he's bringing David Akeman up for the very first time, forgets his name.
Oh.
So doesn't know how to introduce him to the audience.
Oh, no.
However, David Akeman is a very tall, very thin kid, and so he says, the person that is running the contest says, "Well, come on up here, Stringbean, and play us a tune."
Yep.
He leans into it.
Oh,
he
good.
Goes up, he plays the heck out of some music. He is really, really good at banjo. He starts he plays something called clawhammer.
Clawhammer. Okay.
And I am not a musician, so I asked my bestie friend of the pod, hi Steve, who is also a banjo player, what clawhammer is. And he says that it's also sometimes called frailing. Okay. So this is where he said in one way it's the easiest way to play the banjo, but it's also very technical. So you hold your hand in a claw.
Okay.
And when you're strumming the strings, you just use one finger.
Oh, okay. Oh.
To strum the strings. And so it's called frailing, also called clawhammer. Anyway, Stringbean is known for this.
Gotcha.
And he's very, very good at it. Turns out he's also good at something else, and that is baseball.
Oh, okay.
So he becomes a semi-professional baseball player.
What is it about, like, late 1800s, early 1900s?
Where you can just be anything. I'm a fire chief now.
Right?
Right? I guess I'll be a lawyer. You know? But yes, so anyway, he ends up playing semi-pro baseball. And he's pretty good at this. And while he's playing semi-pro baseball, he meets another fella that happens to also be good at playing music. And that man's name is Bill Monroe.
Oh, okay.
He is, if you are familiar with bluegrass or country music at all, sorry for any tippy-tappies that you guys hear. I don't know how my dog navigated the gate. Anyway, so he meets Bill Monroe.
Okay.
And Bill Monroe is also a musician.
Oh.
And ends up putting David Akeman into his band.
Oh, wow.
And he becomes the banjo player playing with Bill Monroe, and they go out and they're playing local concerts and like local,
right,
local shows and all of that, and it's all working out all right. And that's kind of where he really starts to gain traction and get famous.
Wow.
And then when he finally leaves the Bill Monroe band, he's replaced by Earl Scruggs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So he is kind of part of just bluegrass and
wow.
country music royalty. So now it's 1945.
Wow, okay.
So a few things happen for him here. First of all, he meets and marries the love of his life. Her name is Estelle. She is so sweet.
Aww.
They are so in love. And he and Estelle get married. And the same year, hold on, I'm going to show you a picture.
Aw, that's a good
String
picture.
and Estelle. You can see, like, these two love each other.
Yes,
like,
they do.
They are so crazy about one another. This is also the same year that he gets a break on the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, wow.
He shows up. He's playing several styles. He's most known for, like I said, the clawhammer, the trailing, and all of that. By the 1950s, he is a staple on the Grand Ole Opry. He's a star, and he has also adapted his signature look.
Oh.
Now, because people had always called him Stringbean,
right?
Ever since they couldn't remember his name, ever since they couldn't remember his name, they call him Stringbean, and he ends up adopting this look where he wears long pants.
Okay.
But they are sort of buckled around his knee.
Oh, okay.
And then he wears a long shirt and a long tie to kind of emphasize the length and
okay. I
skinniness of his body.
Sure.
And so, I'm
She's
looking
pulling
this
up a
up.
picture
I
for
know.
me.
I had one, but okay. So, anyway, he is kind of known for.
What's he known for?
Sorry, he's known for this kind of playing, and also for being in pants that he would wear that were belted around his knees.
Oh, okay.
And then he would wear a long shirt. Here's a picture. Here it is.
Oh my God.
So you can see.
Yes, now I see
He
it.
almost looks a little bit like a carnival clown.
Yeah, he does. He looks like what you see when you look at one of those carnival mirrors.
Right, how
Yes.
long you are.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So anyway, he adopts the signature look. His first pair of pants that he like belts around the knees and then wears the long shirt for are given to him from another guy that was like kind of an old country star called Little Jimmy Dickens.
Okay.
And Little Jimmy Dickens was a very, very short man.
Oh.
So he gives Stringbean a pair of his pants.
Oh
and
my
like the belt,
God.
and they wear it like it's first kind of a lark, but then it becomes like kind of his signature look.
Right.
So he loves it. He's doing well. He's on the Grand Ole Opry. His home life is great. 1945, he's married his sweet, sweet Estelle. He does music. He is also very good at comedy.
Oh.
So he has kind of like pinched hit a couple of times as like a comedian. It makes him great for Hee Haw!
Woo!
1969, this TV show called Hee Haw comes out and Stringbean is perfect for it.
Oh my
right?
God.
He is perfect for it. Now, you and I are years old, so you have seen Hee Haw.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen
And so
Hee
have
Haw.
I. He usually played the Scarecrow. And so his shtick was that he would give like one-liner corny dad jokes.
Yep.
And eventually the crow on his shoulder would just tell him off. And so, yeah, like that would be the end of it.
Right.
So he was on Hee Haw. He's living the life. But they're also living really modestly. He and Estelle, they live very simply. They are living in a cabin about maybe 20 miles north of Nashville.
Oh wow.
They need to be close to the Opry because
Right.
he's performing with the Opry. They're living, though, on like a small cabin. And in fact, they're living also with another couple that are good friends of theirs.
Oh wow.
And there are 2 houses on the property when they move in. They move into the smaller one.
Huh.
And they're like, oh, you guys have kids. You take the bigger house.
Oh my God.
You know? So they're in this little tiny cabin that is honestly not larger than, and probably smaller than the apartment that we're recording in right
wow.
now. They fish, they garden, they hunt. They both love to keep house. They love to just be homebodies in this small town. There are 2 things that they really indulge in.
And that is.
Number 1, they have a TV.
Ooh, wow.
And number 2, they buy a Cadillac.
Okay.
And they love having that fancy car. They buy a Cadillac. They love having that fancy car. In fact, Stringbean buys a new Cadillac every single year.
Oh my. Yep.
They get rid of the old one,
Yep.
they buy a new one.
Sure.
He pays cash for it.
Of course he does.
All the time. Now, String and Estelle had both come up during the Depression. So neither one of them trust banks.
Oh.
At all.
At all. Uh-huh.
At all, at all. Now, they save their money. Because
my
they are
God.
very frugal. Because they don't trust the banks at all. And they know how life can change in the blink of an eye.
Right.
So he doesn't spend a whole lot of money other than the Cadillac and the TV. And they don't have money in the bank. But that being said, they have money hidden everywhere.
Oh, no.
It's in their chimney. It's in the garden, like behind the jars of pickles and other jars, you know.
Oh my God.
And Stringbean, unfortunately, also does kind of like to flash his cash.
Oh.
He has several hundred, sometimes several $1,000 in the front pocket of his overalls.
Oh my God.
because he dresses, modest like a farmer all the time. So String and Estelle, they don't trust the banks. They keep all of their money, in their house. And they're in a small town, and so word kind of gets around that they have a whole lot of money.
Oh, gotcha.
So they are, again, this is a product of the Depression.
Right.
So they live isolated. They live 20 miles outside of Nashville in a place called Goodlettsville, Tennessee. They are a very simple couple. They are so in love. Like I said, they love their neighbors. They keep to themselves. He goes in, he performs. He likes performing. The rest of the time, they're just out in the river alongside their property, just fishing. Estelle talks to some people that she knows, and she brags about how safe and wonderful their homeland is. And she says, you could leave a bucket of money on our front porch, go on tour all summer, and it would still be here when you got back.
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
So they are, just living their best lives. But again, he loves to flush his cash. It's always hundreds. It's frequently thousands. And one night in 1973, all of this is going to catch up to them.
Oh, boy.
So, January 10th, 1973. String is performing at the Grand Ole Opry. There are two men that live kind of around town. They're cousins. Their names are John and Marvin Brown. They are each 23 years old.
Okay.
They break into the house
Ugh.
while String and Estelle are at the Opry. They go through everything. They end up stealing a chainsaw, some hand tools, a couple of things. They can't find any of the money. They ransack the entire little cabin. They don't get what they've come here to get.
Right.
So they decide that they're going to wait.
Uh-oh.
So they turn on the Akeman's radio and listen to the recording of the Grand Ole Opry that is being broadcast live.
Yeah.
While they wait for the couple to return. Stringbean comes in, with Estelle. He comes in the house first. He had, I think, a .22, a small pistol on him, but he never had a chance. He was armed, but he was shot and killed pretty much as soon as he walked in the door.
Oh, my God.
Estelle sees and hears this. She runs. She's screaming. She's begging for her life. It doesn't matter. They shoot and kill her as well.
That's awful.
It is awful. The next morning, the neighbors that lived right there on the property with them come and find them. They didn't find much of the cash. Estelle and String apparently had $5,700 that were was recovered afterwards, that these two,
Yahoos.
These two yahoos never found. But they stole some stuff, and they also took the couple's car.
Oh, my God.
Now, remember how I said that String used to buy a brand new Cadillac every year?
Yes.
Remember how they're living kind of in a very small town outside of Nashville,
Yes.
where that brand new Cadillac? These are not...
They're not really bright, are they?
They are not the smartest criminals. And therefore, they are very soon caught.
Of course they are.
So they're two cousins. They were in the crime together, but boy, they could not point fingers at one another fast enough.
I bet. Oh, my God.
Everyone,
right.
oh, no, he's the one that shot the shots. Oh, no, he's the one that did the thing. This was his idea. Both of them are convicted. Marvin dies of natural causes years later in 2003.
Okay.
While imprisoned. John petitions multiple times, I think like 6 different times for parole. And he is finally given parole in 2014.
Oh my God.
He served 41 years of a 198-year sentence. But he is given parole. Several friends of String and Estelle, anybody that was still alive, basically was like, this is wrong.
Exactly.
He should never breathe free air again. But he is paroled in 2014. And I believe has since died.
Okay.
So Stringbean, Akeman, and Estelle are buried in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, where they are, where they were so happy for so many years.
Wow.
The people on Hee Haw left. They continued to air episodes that he had filmed before his death.
Oh, wow.
And then afterwards, they left the scarecrow up in the background as a memorial.
Wow.
And so that is the unfortunately sad story, but man, just an amazing...
Yeah, he had an amazing life.
And I don't know, we can get rid of this if we have to afterwards, but I would like to play, if I can.
Sure.
I believe that we can get by with just playing
just a little bit of a song.
a little bit of a song.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I said,
I wonder, did they ever find the rest of his money, though, that they were looking for?
They did. Yeah, there was a ton that was
Okay.
left in the house, and it was everywhere. And it was like, oh, you dig up the vegetables, and they're like all kinds of mason jars
wow.
with they had money everywhere.
Did you ever watch Arrested Development?
I did. Always money in the banana stand.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Correct. So if I can.
Sure.
You can see that
Oh,
claw
wow.
hammer
Oh
style.
my God. That's kind of amazing.
I got a gal that bought it more little eyes of Jane. Green car running by no little eyes of Jane. Oh, little eyes of Jane. Oh, little eyes of Jane.
Nice.
So that is just
Wow.
that is just a taste. But I would encourage anybody that if you like country music or bluegrass music, man, look up Stringbean Akeman.
That's awesome.
A sad end to an incredibly talented man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing. That was
You're welcome.
great. So I think we should probably take a break, don't
Take
you
a little
think?
break and we'll come back for What's Nice.
Yeah, we'll be right back for What's Nice.
If you're from the Midwest and you have any suggestions for stories you'd like to hear, please send them to bigmuddymayhem@gmail.com. Make sure also to join our Facebook page, linked in the description. We also now have merch, which is linked in the description. This will help support our podcast. There are, I know, so many hours in the week, and we know that you're giving us one of yours. We are incredibly grateful, incredibly thankful. Another way that you could help to support the podcast is to give us a nice rating, a nice review, 5 stars, say something nice, wherever it is that you get your podcast. And now let's return to What's Nice here. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
It's time to talk about what's nice here, and I'm going to start by talking about what's nice in Tennessee.
Ooh.
So, while the town of Goodlettsville, Tennessee, where Stringbean Akeman lived, also has some really lovely things, I'm going to take us about 20 miles north
Okay.
to Nashville, which is where the Grand Ole Opry
Awesome.
is located. And I'm going to talk about the Ryman Theater.
Great.
So everybody and their cousin knows about the Ryman Theater.
I don't know if I do. So
Okay. Well, not the cousins that murdered the Aikmans, although they probably knew about it too. Anyway, the Ryman Theater is called the Mother Church of Country Music.
Oh, okay.
It is a historic theater. It has almost 2,400 seats, and it was the house of the Grand Ole Opry from about June of 1943
Oh,
for the
really?
next 31 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Crowded hallways. It's beautiful. It is, while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and pull up
Wow.
a photo. Oh, a photo for you.
Stringbean just wants to keep singing.
Stringbean wants to keep singing. Anyway, it is a beautiful historic theater,
Okay.
and it's built kind of like in an old church.
Oh, okay.
So all of the pews are kind of like, it really is like, it is the mother church of country music. And so it was the house of the Grand Ole Opry, but it wasn't really built as a theater.
Really?
It was built as a church.
Oh, okay.
And so that meant that crowded hallways meant that people that were going to perform, especially in the heyday of the Opry during those 31 years while the Opry was there, they didn't have dressing rooms or any place to go.
Because it's a church.
Right, because it's a church, right? Like
Right.
you have one room for like the vector to get dressed in. That's
Exactly.
it.
Oh, my.
So most of the folks that were performing there would just sneak out of the hallways and go like hang out in the honky tonks.
Oh.
And this is what kind of led to the honky tonk culture of downtown Nashville.
Oh.
So it was restored a few different times. The last time was in 1994. It is still beloved. And in 2022, very, very recently, it was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of
wow.
Fame. So you can still go and take tours.
Oh, neat.
And boy, if the ghosts and voices of all of those people
Right.
ever inhabit any kind of place, then like this, the Ryman Theater, where just the acoustics are beautiful, where country music kind of really truly has its heart.
Wow. That's
Then
amazing.
It is the Ryman Theater.
Okay. I didn't know the name of the actual theater that it started in, so I did not know that. Now I do. So I have a What's Nice
Okay.
about Cape Girardeau. Now, again, like I said, I used to live in Cape Girardeau. It was late 80s, early 90s. Anyway, there was a bridge. Like I said, the Cape Girardeau is located right on the Mississippi River. And just like St. Louis has St. Louis in Missouri. And then in Illinois, we have East St. Louis, right? In Cape Girardeau, it's on the Mississippi. There's Cape Girardeau. And in Illinois, there is East Cape Girardeau.
Oh my!
It's just a small town, but it's basically a town you're driving through. So there was the old Cape Girardeau Bridge. This is the bridge that used to be there when I lived there the first time around.
Oh.
The bridge crossed the Mississippi River. It was 4,744 foot long and only 20 foot wide.
Right.
It was completed in 1928, so I was told when I lived there, I was like, oh, it was built for carriages. And I'm like, it was built in 28. There were cars. So I don't know why it was only 20 feet wide, but it was. It was completed in 1928, and they closed it in 2003. They demolished it in 2004. The design was called a continuous through truss bridge. Basically, a truss bridge is a continuous truss bridge. It was a new building idea for a bridge. Gustav Lindenthal constructed a railroad bridge using this technology in 1916, and it kind of caught on. Okay. So they're like, okay, well, that's pretty cool. It's basically you're building a bridge with less stuff, less resources.
Right.
So the Cape Girardeau Bridge was the first Missouri bridge to use this design. So what they did is they built the bridge, and people, when they opened it, well, first off, 1926, Calvin Coolidge signed a bill approving the construction. The American Bridge Company of New York, they ended up getting the contract. They cost $1.2 million to build it in 1926.
Oh my gracious.
Right?
$1.2 million in 1926 dollars.
Exactly. They started construction in February of 1927. It was completed in September of 1928. September 3rd of 1928, they had the bridge dedication ceremony. And when they had that, there was 15,000 people who showed up for the dedication ceremony. It was originally a toll bridge. Now we're going to fast forward to 1987.
Okay.
So I might be breaching on close to the time that I started living there. They approved a new design for a new bridge for a 4-lane bridge because the old bridge was starting to deteriorate.
Right.
During the final years of the Cape Girardeau Bridge, and my old roommate in Cape Girardeau, she hated going across this bridge. Like, I would drive us over there, and she's like, I'm not a fan, just not like it. So in the final years, when you would drive across it, you could feel the road deck shifting. You could also see it shifting.
Oh my gracious! On the bridge,
Yes.
like the bridge itself would shift.
Portions you could see steel grid. You could see the river below through small holes.
Oh no!
If there was maintenance workers there and people were driving over it, rust would fall on them. There was a broken steel beam held up by a chain. And in 2002, the year before they closed it, they installed these angle clips for reinforcement. There was a lot less traffic when that was reported, so like East Cape Girardeau started to lose a lot of business. When I was living in Cape Girardeau the second time around, I was sitting around watching the news, and they were watching, late night news and watching a news report in Cape.
Right.
And they're like, when they rated this bridge, because it was still functioning at that point, from a 0 to a 100, and 0, I think 100 was the worst. Whatever the very extreme of worst was,
right?
That's where it was.
Oh dear.
That's how bad it was. So on December 13th of 2002, they closed the bridge they opened up the Bill Emerson Memorial Bridge, which is the big fancy bridge. It looks a lot like the new St. Charles Bridge,
right,
or the one that goes over to Alton. Those are bridges that are near us.
Stable?
Yeah, stable. They demolished the old bridge in 2004. When they were going to blast the main span of it, there were only one span was supposed to drop. It dropped 3 of them. So it was just like all this bridge kind of hanging out in the water. Yeah. Apparently they were warned about that years ago. They're like, that's all going to fall at once. You know that, right? Oh, no, it'll be fine. It was not fine.
We'll do the one.
It didn't hurt anyone, thankfully, but it made, an entertaining story. So this bridge, after that happened, they actually, every time I go to Cape Girardeau, because I do drive through there sometimes, like if I'm going out of town south and I'm driving down South 55, I'm like, I'm going to stop in Cape Girardeau so I can get lunch or something.
Right.
And they have created a park where the entrance is to the old bridge. So the entranceway is still there. You can walk up to like you're going to go across the bridge, but the real bridge is to your right now, the big new bridge.
And then just jump off?
No, you can. They have a lookout. So they have all these, you can look through telescopes and, whatever. Where you put the quarter in and you can look out across the Mississippi River.
See where life has gone wrong.
Right. And they have a park dedicated to it called the Riverfront Bridge Park. So there's a little park to the right. They have a little area where you can walk around, and they have some signs and stuff explaining about things that are happening along the Mississippi River. And it's just very interesting. It's a really neat looking bridge. I will definitely
Nice.
post pictures of it when on our Facebook page. But
Absolutely.
it's just really neat because I can go there and go, I remember when I used to drive across this thing and look how near 20 feet. Wow. Like when I was watching the news report, the fun thing, they were interviewing some truck drivers, and the truck drivers are like, oh yeah, I lose my side mirrors on that bridge all the time,
right? Because it
All the
is so
time.
tiny.
So narrow.
Yeah.
So narrow. But that's what's nice in Cape Girardeau.
Fantastic. Well, Janet, thank you so much for getting muddy with me.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. This has been great.
This has been a good time. And to all of our Muddy Buddies, we wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I hope that your plates are plentiful and that your holiday family dramas are few.
Exactly.
And that maybe listening to us gives you like a little bit of a break and something to enjoy over the holiday.
Absolutely.
And we really, truly do appreciate you spending time with us. And so happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. And as always, what do we like to say?
Stay Midwest nice.
Stay Midwest nice.